You gave up a TV job to start a podcast in your basement. If that doesn't scream midlife crisis, I don't know what does.
It was Championship Sunday here in Indianapolis. What's the mindset then coming in as a defending champion?
I want to win. No, I want to win.
The young lady over my shoulder, Caitlin Clark.
Not the best looking guy. And I don't think anyone's going to sit here and say, Matt Randazzo was really good looking.
What has this last month, 2 months, 3 months been like for you? It's an important fan base for the Fighting Illini, is it not?
It is.
He turned 69 years young last week. You look good, Coach.
Oh, try it. Thank you.
Welcome to Off the Air with Matt Randazzo here on a Wednesday in the Quad Cities. Wednesday, February 4th. Thank you guys for joining us wherever you may be checking the show out. It is Hump Day. We are getting close to halfway through the work week. Of course, Super Bowl Sunday is coming up this weekend as well, so a lot to get to. I know everyone looking forward to the end of the work week. We'll help you get there. Fantastic show set up for today. I'm really excited about, well, I've been excited about this entire week, but today is really good as well. But first and foremost, if you're watching us on YouTube, thank you for doing that. We appreciate that. Make sure you're subscribing. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. If you have, thank you very much. The chat is up and going. A lot of great stuff today. So ask our guests questions. chat with me, yell at me, berate me, whatever you want to do. But be interactive with the show. We appreciate that as well. We're also live on X. X continues to be very, very good to us. Thousands of you check the show out on X every single day. We appreciate that. So same thing. Be interactive on X as well. Let us know what you think of the show, things we can change. Always looking to do different things here on the show as we bring this to you every single weekday at 10 a.m. 2 hours of stuff, whether it's good or bad or in between. We hope more good than bad, but some days you never know. You can also check us out on all your podcasting platforms, Apple, Spotify, Podbean, iHeart, wherever you get your podcasts. Check out Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. Just put it in. You can listen to the show when you're running kids around at night like I do a lot of my evenings, or if you're going to work, coming home from work, all of those kind of things, working out. Put the show on and listen as you do those things that you got to get done each and every night. Also, welcome to our viewers in Central Iowa. You can see the show on the WHO streaming app every single evening at 7 p.m. So thank you guys for tuning in that way as well. Big week so far. Monday's lineup was Taylor Pannell, star softball player for Texas Tech, former Rock Island standout, Trent Condon, Arthur Abbey from Rock Island, and Rob Brooks, the voice of Iowa women's basketball. So if you missed that show, go check out Monday's show. Tuesday's show, Kyle Huseman talking Iowa women's basketball. Jim Matson talking everything when it comes to Illinois athletics, and it was a crazy Sunday with the men winning on the road, the women winning on the road as well, and then a new defensive coordinator for the football team. So the legend Jim Matson joined us yesterday, and then also new Illinois football commit and signee, and one of the best football players in the state of Illinois, Caden Considine, joined us as well. Byron standout, really enjoyed his interview. That is the son of former Hawkeye standout and former NFL player Sean Considine. As we talked about yesterday, really underlooked and under-recruited when it comes to how good this young man is. Brett Bielema did it again. You got Matt Bailey, you got Mac Resetich. You can add Caden Considine to that list of late signees that will make an impact on the Illinois football program. As for today's show, I know the Super Bowl is this weekend. I understand that. I get that. But if you're not a fan of those two teams, you're looking ahead. And the NFL has the Combine coming up. They just got done with the Senior Bowl and the Shrine Game. They have the draft coming up as well. NFL is king, and the draft is coming up. The Iowa Hawkeyes will be extremely well represented. Like, I think they might have the most draft picks ever from Iowa, from an Iowa football team. That being said, Illinois will be well represented as well. Matt Bailey, we just mentioned, decided to come back. We're going to chat with Nick Baumgardner from The Athletic. Does a great job covering all of those kind of things at The Athletic. They've got their new mock draft coming up on Monday, but he's going to help me break down all of the players we just talked about. Wait till you hear what he says and thinks of Mark Gronowski, former Hawkeye quarterback, and who will go first in the draft, Luke Altmyer or Mark Gronowski? You might be surprised by that one. So he's coming up in just a matter of moments. Also on today's show, it's Wednesday. Cyclone fans come here on Wednesdays to listen to Jake Brend. Iowa fans come here on Wednesdays to hate on Jake Brend. We'll get caught up with the Cyclones coming up later on in hour number 1 of the show around 10:45. And then coming up in hour number 2, it was really cool over the weekend on Friday. Jim Spencer and Matt Gingrich have called so many Sterling sporting events. They called their 1000s game together on Friday evening. I think it's really cool. Both of them will join me coming up to talk about the evolution of what they've done at Sterling and media in general, what it meant to hit 1,000 and then also talk some Sterling athletics and memories and all that kind of stuff. A lot of fun coming up in hour number 2 of the show. All that, much, much more as we rock and roll our way through a Wednesday. Thank you guys so much for joining us on the chat, joining us on YouTube, all of those fun things. We greatly appreciate it. With that being said, let's hit some headlines as we get rocking and rolling on a Wednesday before our guests. And we start with, it's really kind of weird, but Iowa fans, and I'll explain why in a second, are celebrating this morning because of this. Carver Hawkeye Arena is going to be sold out for a men's basketball game. I think it's the first time it's happened since they played Illinois at Carver in the 2024 season. So it'll be nearly 2 years since Carver has been sold out for an Iowa men's basketball game. And I think we talked a lot this time of year last year about, Fran probably didn't get let go because of his resume. I think he won enough. It was because of maybe what was going on in the stands and the empty seats. And it was at an all-time low, I felt, last year. Carver will be packed for Purdue. The crowds have been better already this year, but they've yet to have a sellout. That'll change. And that includes some good games. It includes Illinois coming to town. Includes UCLA came to town. Maryland. Finally, Purdue is a sellout on Valentine's Day, 4 p.m. tip at Carver Hawkeye. So Iowa gets that sellout that Ben McCullum has been wanting, the first one in his tenure. And coming up in tomorrow's show, tonight Iowa plays super late, 10 o'clock at night is when Iowa will tip off. Come back here tomorrow and we'll break it all down if you couldn't stay up late. Not only Tom Kakert, but I believe Nicholas Bear as well. We're going to combine the two and talk all about Iowa basketball and hopefully a victory at Washington. They took care of business against Oregon. They've won 4 straight, looking for their 5th straight against Washington tonight. We'll check that out and talk more about it tomorrow. As for the Illini, we talked a ton of Illini yesterday. Go check it out with Jim Matson. A lot of Illini fans excited. I think Ked even texted this to me. The most people to ever watch a college basketball game on FS1. I need to circle that because I think some people got a little carried away with most to ever watch a not a college basketball game ever, but ever on FS1. But they've been doing a lot of basketball on FS1 over the last several years, and Illinois and Nebraska drew the most, 1.37 million viewers. Illinois has won 11 straight games. They play tonight at home, 8 p.m. against Northwestern. We'll talk a little Illini tomorrow on the show as well. So those are kind of the two things I wanted to bring up. I also want to point out the Super Bowl is coming up on Sunday. We'll talk a little more about that coming up over the next couple days. Kind of get you ready, maybe gambling wise, maybe food wise. I got an idea on that Friday. I think we'll hit that up as well. We're going to take a quick 15-second timeout to spotlight one of our fantastic sponsors, Crawford Company. And then we'll be back with Nick Baumgardner from The Athletic right after this. You're watching OTA, and it's Wednesday in the Quad Cities. Welcome back to Off the Air with Matt Randazzo here on a Wednesday in the Quad Cities. The Super Bowl is this weekend. Everyone is focused on the big game, and I get it. I am too. But for people that aren't fans of the Seahawks or the Patriots, or maybe gambling in general, they're already looking forward to next season. Bears fans, Packers fans here in the area, my beloved Lions are looking forward to the future as well in the NFL draft. And so to talk about the NFL draft and how some local Iowa and Illinois standouts could do in the draft, we're joined now by Nick Baumgardner from The Athletic. Thank you so much for doing this. I've listened to you all over the place. So to have you on the show, I greatly appreciate it, my friend.
Absolutely, man. Thank you. Glad to be here. Happy to talk draft. It's draft season all the time around these parts. But,
right? It's crazy. We'll talk a little Bears, and I'm going to get your thoughts on our Lions, right? Our Lions?
Yes.
I can say that?
Yes.
Oh,
I'm
finally.
here, Southeast Michigan, so of course I'm a Lions guy. Yes.
It's funny
Welcome to
because
Detroit, our podcast with Golden Pouncy. Check that out.
absolutely. It's funny because I'm here in the Quad Cities, so I'm in Bears country, and so I don't like the Bears. Everybody knows I don't like the Bears. As a Lions fan, how do you rank the rivals? Are you like, I can't stand the Packers, or I can't stand the Vikings? Like the Bears are number one for me. But what about yourself?
Yeah, I think for me it's like it sort of depends between Bears and Packers. I feel like it swings back and forth between either or. Like if the Bears are good, like that's never great, like I don't like that necessarily. But usually I feel like it's the Packers number one, then Bears, and then I guess Vikings for some reason are third. But like the Bears and Lions, I feel like commiserate a lot. Like they've had a lot of Lions have had it worse, but the Bears have had a pretty similar, stretches over the years of just like, oh my God, you guys are terrible. So they commiserate some. So they're done. They're like this year. I didn't mind the Bears going on their run. I thought that was okay, right? I would not have loved to see the Packers go on a run. I think dislike the Packers the most. I think that's number one.
See, I called this year's Bears season the national nightmare that was the Chicago Bears. I hated every part of it.
Well, that's because where you live.
It was over.
Yes.
Exactly. And you brought up a good point, and we're going to get to the actual business at hand in a second. But I always looked at it like the Bears fans who made fun of me shouldn't be making fun of me because they're more closer to me. Like Packers fans, I get it. Like you have the right to be a little braggadocious. Bears fans, I don't think they do. There was that 85 Super Bowl that they keep talking about all those years ago. So
pretty much it though.
Yeah, I just there was that's very true. All right, I want to start with our local college standouts. You've seen the Senior Bowl. You were at the East-West Shrine game. Iowa always produces NFL talent. Before we talk about the individual ones, is that a thing when you get to these places and it's an Iowa guy? How does the NFL look at Kirk Ferentz Iowa guys in the NFL draft?
Wow, yeah. Now that I think about it, now that Saban is gone and some of these other guys, I would probably venture a guess that the Iowa guy carries more weight today than anybody else going in college football right now. That has been a thing for probably 20 years, or at least 15. Every year I've been going to the combine, it's been a thing. Like Iowa guys, when we talk about a guy like that, usually with the offensive linemen, they are always very well taught. They're never sloppy with their technique. Every lineman Ferentz has ever turned out of there knows what they're doing, whether they're a good athlete or not. Usually they play above their skill set, right? And then when you do see a guy like a Wirfs or Cooper DeJean that come through that are just like a whoa athlete, you also know that you're getting a guy who has survived the work ethic, everything else that they teach there. It's one of the last, old school. They know what they're doing in terms of coaching. Plus, they also have Phil Parker on the other side. So you have the defensive backfield there. They're always well schooled. So everybody loves to have the Iowa guys. I think that's I don't think it should be a secret, but I feel like in some ways it is a little bit of a secret. I mean, I feel like it's not as a Big Ten person, but nationally it probably is. But if you really look at it, there's a ton of Iowa guys in the league because they work hard. And regardless of how their record was at Iowa, if they get through the program, go the whole 4 years, whatever it is, Ferentz's word carries a lot of weight these days.
Yeah, you look at it, Nick, and there's the Jack Campbell's that was a first-round pick, and Cooper and all those kind of things. There's those years that you're like, Iowa's got a number one pick, for a couple first-rounders. I don't know if there's probably not a first-rounder there this year.
Right.
When you start looking, I guess we'll start with the Shrine game or the Senior Bowl last week. Everybody was talking about Dunk and Jennings Dunker.
Yeah.
Your thoughts on what you saw from him, what people are saying about him. He's a character and he fits it physically as well. Your thoughts on Dunk?
Well, that's the thing. He's a character, and I think sometimes people might get caught up in that and forget or overlook the fact that he is a really good athlete and just a really versatile, solid offensive lineman. Like for me, he was way better this year than I thought he was going to be. He was a guy on the list this summer that a lot of scouts liked and were eager to see, upcoming this year. And I watched his tape from 2020, the last season, 2024, and I was like, okay, I can see why. But I was also kind of like, there's some stiffness here. I didn't love this. I didn't love that. But as time wore on this year, and that Iowa line played well. Like I was talking to Scott Docterman about this. I thought Indiana should have gotten the Joe Moore award. However, Scott brought it up. I mean, he was like, if you really look at it rep to rep, Iowa's offensive line really played well together more than anybody else and kind of dominated sometimes more than anybody else. Dunker was a big part of that. And then you fast forward to the Senior Bowl, was very eager to see how he'd hold up in pass pro. And I thought he was great. I thought his athleticism really shined there. Very versatile player who could be a guard or a tackle, probably a right tackle, but I think he could play either guard. Just a really smart player. And he loves football. You can tell, like you said, he's a character, but this guy likes to hit. He likes to eat. Like you talked about that a lot. Like he likes to train and all that good stuff. So it's a culture fit for a lot of teams these days in the NFL. And I think he probably, as much as anybody at the Senior Bowl, probably helped themselves.
You mentioned a culture fit, and as an Lions fan, that's a word you hear a lot. And you see that orange mullet, and you hear what you want to hear from him. and I sit there as a Lions fan at 17 going, probably too high, but love to see him there. You mentioned he probably helped himself a lot at the Senior Bowl. Can you give me a guess? Is he a day two? He's a day two guy. Is he an early day two guy? Where do you kind of see him right now?
I think he's probably an earlier day two guy. I think he's probably a second round tackle more than a third round tackle. I don't think I would put him in the first round, but I think he's somebody that probably flirts with the top 50. And depending on how these interviews go, depending on how what he does at the combine and all that stuff, I think he could pop up a little higher too. I think some people that were high on him, really high on him in the summer, might have been onto it because I think his athleticism surprises me. Like his burst, his get off the ball. A lot of the reps he wins in pass pro is just because he's off the ball and set before the other guy's even into his moves. So I'm really curious to see how he does after the combine, what people are thinking of him after that. But I think he's a guy that probably flirting with the top 50 range. But I think of all the Iowa guys this year, he's the one with him and Gronowski, but Dunker more so on the top end of it has kind of the rocket on his back, or could have the rocket on his back, coming up to the evaluation cycle here.
Absolutely. Nick Baumgardner from The Athletic joining us right now and off the air with Matt Randazzo. You mentioned that offensive line at Iowa, and it was really good all season. And one of those guys at the Senior Bowl as well was Bo Stevens. Your thoughts on what you saw from Bo, and obviously that offensive line really good together, and offensive line and Iowa and the pros kind of go hand in hand. What'd you see from Bo last week?
Yeah, he's not as physically impressive, I don't think, or as physically dominant maybe as Dunker can be, but he's more of the classic Iowa guy in my mind, in that he's a survivor and he flashes. Like there were certainly reps that he had where he got overpowered in this one, like whether he be at center or at guard, which is important to note. He can play he might even be able to kick out and play tackle in a pinch, but he can play kind of anywhere in there. Really good athlete, really smart player, and I think that his technique and his IQ are going to bump him way higher than probably his physical whatever says he should be, because he doesn't, even if he loses a rep, he wasn't getting dominated or wasn't, whiffing or anything like this. And then he would usually come back, correct it, and win later. So just a really solid player, probably a day three guy. Maybe he slips up into the bottom of day two, but probably a day three guy, but probably towards the top end of that. Because that center ability too that he has, he snapped a lot at the Senior Bowl. I think that could carry him a good weight with some teams there.
I think there were three other Hawkeyes at the Senior Bowl: Max Llewellyn, TJ Hall, and then I believe Drew Stevens was down there as well. You look at that, and I know I saw some stuff that TJ Hall impressed, speed wise, that kind of things. Your thoughts on those three? Did one stand out over the others, and your thoughts on where they could land come April?
Yeah, Llewellyn and Hall, and you mentioned Hall. Hall was kind of the up and down for me too. He was a guy that, similar to what we were just talking about there, like a guy who could lose a rep, but he didn't get destroyed, and then he would come right back and get one. He wasn't down. So a solid player, if nothing else. But I do think that when you really look at the whole group there, Dunker was my favorite. Who else did we just mention? I forget the guy who else we were talking
Max
about.
Llewellyn.
Another one. Llewellyn, that's what I was on the tip of my tongue. I like him a lot. So he was one that started slow for me because I think he's size-wise maybe can get a little bit, I don't know how much versatility is there with him in terms of how many spots he'll be able to play in the NFL. But he's one of these guys that just kept going, got better as the Senior Bowl week went on. Obviously, you like his tape at Iowa, but when you're testing yourself against some of these top-end players, he won more reps, I feel like, later in the week than he did at the beginning, which to me just like screams like he's a very solid Iowa guy that's going to go higher than probably his physical, traits and everything else suggest. I would think probably day 3 as well, but like he could be one that goes up higher on day 3 than we would. Him and Hall both, I think, than we would normally think based on how they physically, line up and short out. But yeah, that Iowa guy thing is definitely it works for sure.
Nick Baumgardner from The Athletic joining us right now and off the air with Matt Randazzo. You were at the East-West Shrine game in person, and Mark Gronowski and Iowa fans when the season started, the first couple games, and they were like, "What are we doing?" And then he beloved himself to the Iowa Hawkeyes. A lot of it was on the ground and winning and the intangibles, but as Iowa fans, they're sitting here reading about that week, and they're seeing these videos of him just throwing the football like we never got to see it, I don't think. Did anybody help themselves more that week than Mark Gronowski? And then your overall thoughts on where he might land in this whole thing?
Probably not, honestly, at the Shrine there. I think he might have been, a lot of people, Cade Klubnik, I think probably helped himself a good deal too. I think a lot of people had been negative on him for a reason, the team wasn't very good and all that stuff. So I think he did a nice job, but I think Gronowski probably was more than anybody else just because, like you said, Matt, like I was standing there during one drill on team and I was in the end zone talking to somebody as he was kind of throwing out, and he threw a couple down the pipe there, 20 yards over the middle in team against like 11 on 11, right? Like that were just perfect. That I was like, I didn't know he could do that. Like I did not know that was in his in his arsenal. Yeah. But at the same time, you do know that he was hurt all year. He was not himself. It was the bowl game. I feel like was probably the one time where you really got to see, oh, that looks like what people thought Iowa was getting this year. Like everybody was very excited about that when he made that transfer in the scouting world. Everybody wanted to see what he would look like in that offense if he was healthy and everything else, and then he just wasn't. So it was like, okay, now what? And he goes to the Shrine Bowl. He could have, I believe, gone to the Senior Bowl, turned it down, went to the Shrine Bowl, and I feel like he was the best quarterback there, to be quite honest. I mean, he was probably at least the most consistent, and he showed things I feel like that scouts didn't know he had. And I'm curious now, he probably wouldn't have been a guy that was going to get a combine invite before all this. But now I kind of think that I'd be surprised if he doesn't in some ways. But when it's all said and done, I don't know when all those things are going to get finalized, if they already are. But I think he's helped himself a lot. And I think he's on the radar for a lot of teams now on day 3 where he wouldn't have been, 2 months ago or 3 months ago, whatever it was.
You look at that you're when you say those things, you didn't see it on tape. That's what Iowa fans are saying. But the intangibles are so good with him. And you look at this class quarterback wise, and you're the guru, not me, but it's not a great quarterback class, I don't think. Is there's a would you say he's drafted right now? Like if I asked you a question?
Yeah, I think that if we put us on the spot and say, is he drafted or not, I think he would be. I think if we're looking at everybody on there, I like Luke Altmyer, kid from Illinois. I think he helped himself too at the Senior Bowl a little bit. But I think he's ahead of a guy like, Diego Pavia was so exciting and everything else, right? But he's 5'9", and he's 100 and whatever pounds. Like I would take him over a guy like that. I would take him over Taylon Green. I mean, I would argue, him and Carson Beck would be at least a conversation for me on day 3. I'm not a big Carson Beck guy, but I think he's a day 3 option in a draft where, like you said, Matt, there's not a lot of when you're looking for a guy that's going to be a team guy, that's going to bring all the intangibles. And when you get into day 3, keep this in mind. We're looking for a guy that can come in and compete for a backup job and be okay with that if that's what it ends up being. And then if he has to do more for us, fine. But I know that C.J. Beathard made a career for a good chunk of time doing exactly that. I think Gronowski could do, and you'll probably hear a lot of Beathard comparisons based on, the way they carry himself and everything else. So I definitely think he helped himself, and I would be a little surprised, honestly, based on medicals too. That's we'll see. A little surprised maybe if he doesn't get drafted.
I think you said a lot of good stuff. I heard you'd say he's the next Tom Brady. Is that what you just said? I think that's what. No, not quite.
I think maybe he could be the next CJ Beathard, which is fine, right?
That's a great count.
It's a good life.
And his his bank account will be just fine with that as well.
Yeah, CJ's doing well for sure.
Nick, Iowa fans fall in love with Iowa guys, and somebody they fell in love with, and rightfully so, was Caden Weegan and what he did in the return game, and he's just different in that aspect. And a lot of people said to me after the season, he'll get a chance in the NFL because of that. That's obviously the headline. but he did other things at the Shrine game that I think people were impressed by. He helped his stock as well. Where does he fit? And is his return game, does it equate to what they do in the NFL when it comes to the kickoffs? And obviously punting's punting, so probably,
right.
But your thoughts on Caden Weegan in general?
I definitely think his stuff would work on either punt or kick. And we got to remember now, the kickoffs are on the shorter end of things anymore. So it's a little bit more like a punt when we're looking for like a guy who can make those sudden cuts and a guy who has good field vision, which Caden does. But really, I think that he's more than that. I think he's a guy that could play all of your special teams, obviously, and be your returner, but then he could cover punts, he cover kicks, and do all that stuff, which is super important in the NFL to have guys that are trustworthy to do all that. Because anymore, with guys going to the portal and stuff, we do not see guys with high number of special teams counts as receivers and stuff like we used to. So that's valuable, number one. But number two, like when you watch the reps at the Shrine Bowl, and you don't want to take everything from a one-on-one. It's not often, the best simulation for what you're going to see in an NFL game. But like nobody could cover him. Like nobody came close. Nobody came even close. And more than that, he caught everything that was in his radius. Like that was the most important thing. We have seen guys go to Shrine Bowl, Senior Bowl, small guys, and they'll just cook everybody, but they'll drop it or they can't catch through contact. Little things like this. It won't even out. It won't be something that's worth it. But he's different. It reminded me of, and he's better, I think, than this. But Efton Chisholm was a kid last year that played at Eastern Washington. I don't believe he got drafted, but he caught on with the Patriots, and he'll be in the Super Bowl running routes out there for them next week as a 5'9", whatever. It's a better athlete than that. I think he's got a chance. The size is going to hurt him, but when you get deep into the draft like that, into day 3, it becomes like he's got a lot of things that would be a good tiebreaker. Good special teamer, good punt returner. Probably good in a pinch in the slot. Like, honestly, you're a Lions guy. That reminds me of Khalif Raymond.
I was going to say.
We're going to talk about a guy like that, right? And Khalif Raymond for the Lions is worth his weight in gold. So I definitely think he's got a chance, and the Shrine Bowl helped him as much as anybody there.
A couple more Hawkeyes, and then I got to touch some on the Illini guys real fast. Carson Shire was there as well. Tell me about him. And then also, we had Logan Jones on the show last week, a guy who wasn't at either, but obviously Remington Award winner, really good center. As an Lions guy who's looking for centers, I really want Tyler Lindenbaum to come on over and join some other former Hawkeyes in Detroit, but they have a need, not just the Lions, but where does he fit when it comes? So I guess Carson Shire and Logan Jones.
Yeah. Well, sorry, Jones is really interesting for me because I just he's one that I feel like athletically he's as good as it gets. I think everybody knows that. He was on Bruce's Freaks list a couple times, or at least once. And when you will see it on tape, you can see the movement. You can see how far he can reach down on gaps and do all those things. I do have concerns though about his size. Like, I don't know if he's quite big enough to handle everything that you would like. I've looked at him for the Lions, for example, and there are days where I'm like, yeah, that could work really well. But then there's also days where it's like, if they want to line up and run duo and power and all the heavy stuff that they've done over the years, I'm not sure if he's quite that, that guy. If teams think that he is, then he's probably a high, like a mid to high second round pick. Like, he might be, the first center off the board, in conversation with Connor Lew there from Auburn. So he's one that I think could, a lot of it probably depends on what your flavor is, what you do, what your system is in the NFL and all that stuff. But you're not going to find too many that are highly thought of or more highly thought of in terms of their intelligence and their athleticism inside than him. And then Shar also, he was really active, I think, all week. That was the one thing that I noticed from him. Like, he's got a lot of traits that are just kind of like, they're not great, they're not bad, they're just in the middle. But I think he might have led either his side or the whole team in the Shrine Bowl, in the game itself, in tackles there. So he was one that I remember writing down a bunch of. He was just all over the place. Very active, got his hands on everything. And again, another one where everybody at Iowa plays special teams. So he's another guy that if it's a tiebreaker on day 3 between him and somebody from wherever, and that guy didn't play special teams, he's in. So, that's how that almost always goes. So I would look for him to be someone there in that same range.
Nick Baumgardner from The Athletic joining us right now and Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. The Illini folk that watch the show want to know about the Illini. We won't go through everybody.
Yeah.
The main one was Gabe Yakis, and he sounds like had a great week. Where does he fit in things? Is he a first-round pick? Is he a second-round pick? What do you think? What do you like about him, and what concerns maybe do you have about him?
I really like him a lot. I thought he could have come out last year and gotten taken probably before the end of day 2. I think he's probably on the fringe of first round, second round. I think he's right in that mix. There's a couple guys there like Cassius Howell, Zion Young, him, a few other guys, Derek Moore from Michigan, and a few others in there too. But I thought Yakis, like, he is so sudden and explosive off the ball and brings so much power with everything that he does, that I really feel like he's a guy that could move around and play a few different spots. He's got good length despite not being super tall, but he's about 275, 280. I think he was 280 at the Senior Bowl there. And when he comes off the ball and he can just run right through a guy's chest and just blow everything up, run or pass. My concerns with him, and the thing that I wonder if it'll keep him out of the first round, I don't think he'll make it out of the second round, is his pass rush repertoire isn't super deep. Like, a lot of times it's what we just said, like, run right through the middle of a guy. And if I don't just completely click him back on his heels, I'm losing the rep. And I felt like there's a lot of times where he'll generate a lot of power and not be able to finish off it. So there's some little things, technique, that might keep him out of the first round, but I think he's right on the fringe in terms of when you're looking physically, everything that those guys bring to the table. He's great. I really like him a lot. I think he helped himself, as much as probably anybody there, for sure.
You mentioned Luke Altmyer.
Yes.
Winner. Turned a program around in Illinois.
Yeah.
And did some good things at the Shrine Game. Your thoughts on where Luke Altmyer kind of places? And I'll have a fun one for you because we're in the middle of Hawkeye and Illini country where the rivalry lives here in the Quad Cities. Which one gets drafted first, Luke Altmyer or Mark Gronowski? That's a good one, right?
I knew. Yes, it is, because they're very similar in what their stories are going to be and where they're going to head. I feel like in this draft, because it's similar. Altmyer was at the Senior Bowl, Gronowski was at the Shrine, and Altmyer made a couple similar throws that we have seen from him on tape. But we're same kind of things that we're talking about, where driving the ball down the middle, being confident, not being afraid, getting rid of it quickly, knowing where you're going with the football, and just being kind of like a really gritty competitor. Like, one of the guys who really helped himself as much as anybody over the years in this game was Bailey Zappi. Whatever year he came out, I remember that. Like, he just came in and made every throw that needed to be made. And when something was open, he didn't miss it, and he didn't do anything dumb. And that kind of reminded me of like what Altmyer was able to do. So I feel like him and Gronowski, that is a great question. And it probably comes down to medicals. I like Gronowski more. I think he gives more. Like Scott even mentioned one time, he could do a little Taysom Hill probably someday for a team. He didn't do any of that at the Shrine Bowl. He just played quarterback, which was good because I think that he can be a quarterback too, but he's so athletic. I think he gets my tiebreaker, but I think both guys are in that same boat of, I think teams are looking for young quarterbacks they can bring in, that they can trust, that are smart, that can develop and take on a number 2 job and help their starter and push things along. And I think both those guys kind of fit that bill right now.
Nick Baumgardner with The Athletic joining us right now. I won't keep you too much longer. I know you're busy. I could do this all day. We could do 4 hours, but that's not a good idea for you. Here in the Quad Cities, we've had Quad City kids make it to the NFL. Logan Lee, Darian Porter last year from Bettendorf.
That's right.
Logan Lee a few years before that. There was a dry spell. If you go up to Clinton, which is a little north, David Johnson was there. Then you go back to Julian Vandervelde, Pat Anger, those guys, and that's been a minute. We have one that decided not to go, so I don't know if I'm putting you in a bad spot if you've seen a lot on him yet, but Matt Bailey at Illinois flirted with it, safety, and decided to come back another year. Take me to next year, or just even what have you seen from him? I feel like he can play on Sunday. I'm biased as biased can be. Your thoughts if you've seen him, or know what your thoughts on maybe a year early, if that makes any sense.
Yes, I have, and I think that it was a good call probably to go back, because that's a good program, number one. I think that that's the thing to note. There's been so many guys now over the last 4 or 5 years that have come through that have carved out really nice NFL careers for themselves. And we just got done talking about like what's an Iowa guy. An Illinois guy, especially defensively, is somebody that just, grinds through everything, gets it done, and finds a way, to keep getting better, I feel like, as time goes on. And when you look at a guy like Bailey, like, he is big, long, can run, can do a bunch of different stuff. And I feel like he's one that if he'd have gone out this year, would he have gotten taken? Yes, he probably would have gotten taken somewhere maybe late, right? Maybe not. It's one of those things that you don't know how it all could have worked out. But if he comes back and finishes and grows into what everybody thinks he can be in terms of being versatile, the most popular rookie in the NFL this year in terms of, everybody talking about scheme and everything else was Nicky Minwari from the Seahawks. And I'm not saying that he's Minwari, but I mean, like, a guy who's, what is he, 6'2", 220 or 215, I guess Bailey is, can play a bunch of different stuff and do different things. Like, that's definitely a thing that NFL teams are getting into now. So I absolutely think he has an NFL future. It was cool to see him go back. A lot of guys, it's cool to see them go back now that they can get some money and stay and not have to worry about, because he's a great example. I feel like it would have been a tough call, right, if there was no money involved on the other end. So, yeah, good for him. Excited to see what he comes up with next year.
Take me through your next 2 months, and not day by day. God knows you're busy. But what is this lead up like? And when it comes to your mock drafts, do you want do you want to get it? You want to get it right when it comes to player to team. You don't care if the player in the first round is a bust or not. You're more trying to match the team with the number, correct?
So what I'm trying to do is trying to give you my look at who the best 35, whatever. If I'm going to the first round, my look at who are the 32 best first round options I can think of here, right? Like, yes, team, obviously their needs and everything else play into factor. But I try to look at it like that. Like, what I do is I try to go through and stack, 1 through 250, and then, by position, quarterback 1 on down through as many as we need to go. And then sort of within that, then tier it as like, okay, which guys would go first round, which guys are, and so on and so forth. And that's kind of how I go through the mocks. To me, I try to make it as, this fit makes sense, that fit makes sense. But some of that is so hard and impossible. Like we just talked about with Brad Holmes. He's not the only GM like that, where it's like, oh, that's an obvious need. And then they're just going to do something completely off the wall. And you're like, what? And what's going on? So I think that's how GMs look at the NFL draft, though. They really don't look at it from what do we need right now. It's who's the best player that will be able to fit inside of our program that we have going right now, that we have room for, that we can draft. And that really kind of is how it goes. So I do try to keep it like, I'm looking at it from 1 through 50, 50 through 100, and then so on and so forth like that. And so the next couple of months will be going back over last season's the 2025 tape, and then kind of restacking it, and then going from there. And then I guess prior to that, it's not as busy as you'd think, because I started watching this class last May.
Good Lord.
So it's been several months, right? Obviously, almost a year now. So. At this point in the year, and I'm grateful for The Athletic that gives Dane Brugler and I all the time in the world to do this, but it's good too. We write about it as we go. I guess people are interested year round now in the draft, but we started in May, and then we'll start in May again on the next one, when it comes back. So it's good to be ahead as best you can.
Last one, I promise. What do the Bears do? They're 25? We talked Lions off the air, and we don't need to bore the Quad Cities with our Lions love. Bears wise, 25. The defense wasn't great. I think Ben's crazy, and if they can upgrade on offense, I do. Like, I don't think like DeAndre. Remember, and the year.
You're not wrong.
They had DeAndre Swift and they had Jamal Williams, and everybody was like, "This running game's really good," and they burn it down, and they draft a first-round pick, and it ends up being the best thing they've done in a long time. Your thoughts on where the Bears even might go with 25?
Yeah, like my original thought is. The safe thought would be there'll be some good edges down there. We just got done talking about a couple of those guys. TJ Parker would be another one, kid from Clemson that's in there in the mix there. Cassius Howell, some of these guys. They would get a good pass rusher down there. I think you could, if you wanted to, down there at 25 and still be safe with that. But like the one thing that, and you hit it, like Ben's nuts, and I don't know where Jeremiah Love is going to go. And if he starts falling down the draft, that would be the one guy that I would see Ben just banging on, polls as, be like, trade up. We got to get this guy. We got to get this guy. Like that could be a guy that I could see him being like we need to shove some chips to the middle and go get a guy, because if we're talking about somebody who could help turn them over the top, that's the one area offensively where they don't quite have a guy where you're like, okay, I can see it all. Monungai's great. I love him, but he does need – I don't think Swift's it. So I think poor DeAndre might get – maybe he gets traded in for a newer model again. I don't know. But that's the one thing where if the Bears were going to make a move, I wonder if it would be if he starts falling.
And I don't know if they have a home run hitter yet. Like
Right,
J-Mo
no.
and Swift that they can turn 10 into 70. So
yeah,
that's
Caleb is their home run hitter, but he needs like more, you know what I mean? Like he can do a lot for you, but you're right. He does need like one more guy. Like Burden is almost there, but not quite all the way. So that would be interesting if they can get one more weapon. I wouldn't rule that out.
Hopefully they never get there and they draft miserably and they go 0-17 next year. Is that okay to say? I'll say it.
Yeah, maybe they just skip the pick and don't turn it on time or whatever that is and lose the pick.
I like it when they're really bad. That's more fun. So, Nick, I can't thank you enough. This has been a bunch of fun. Tell people how they get your content, The Athletic, and you guys got another one coming out, I think, like right after the Super Bowl. Tell people what's coming up.
Yeah, I'll have a 3-round mock actually on Monday right after the Super Bowl out. So just stay tuned for that. And then just stay tuned to The Athletic. I'm on Twitter and social media there at Nick Baumgardner. And at The Athletic, we'll have all mocks and drafts and top 50s and all the other stuff before Dane's The Beast comes out, the giant draft guide that we put out every April. So stay tuned for that as well.
I love it. Nick, I appreciate your time. Be good. Thanks so much.
Absolutely. Thank you, Matt.
All right. That is Nick Baumgardner from The Athletic. It's right around the corner. Great content on the Iowa stuff coming on. We just had Logan Jones on last week. Go check that interview out if you missed it. But it's coming right around the corner. The NFL is king because, yes, the Super Bowl is here, but then they just go right into the combine and the free agency and the draft and the schedule release. And they are talked about 24/7, 365 days a year. So we got more to get to. We'll talk a little Cyclones coming up right after this. You're watching OTA on a Wednesday right here in the Quad Cities. All right, be honest. Are you craving Hungry Hobo again? You know, that fresh sliced meat piled high on those amazing sandwiches, hot off the grill chicken and steak, with all those delicious toppings, the biggest and best selection of baked potatoes, or simply some waffle fries dipped in cheese. Well, now that Quad City favorite is even easier to get. Download the Hungry Hobo app today. Order ahead, skip the line, and earn rewards all at the same time. There's Double Points Monday and exclusive specials as well. With 12 locations in the Quad City area, it's Hungry Hobo, now even easier to find, but still hard to resist.
Rafferty Funeral Home, dedicated to serving families in the Quad Cities since 2007.
Hi, welcome. Here, come on in.
An experienced staff plans each service to reflect the unique life and legacy of your loved one. Rafferty Funeral Home is proud to serve our community with dignity, respect, and compassion, helping you to celebrate your traditions and lasting memories no matter your faith, culture, or budget. Rafferty Funeral Home in Moline. Call today to discuss prearrangements.
When it comes to quality, convenient pizza, Godfather's Pizza in Silvis has you covered. Featuring a beautiful dine-in area, delivery, and a carry-out window. Godfather's Pizza is that pizza you grew up with, not a convenience store. You see, at Godfather's Pizza, the dough is made fresh daily. That mozzarella cheese is shredded fresh and never frozen. And those toppings are abundantly piled high each and every time. Locally owned and operated since 2010, Godfather's is a huge supporter of local athletes right here in the Quad Cities. So come on by and check them out at 1211 Avenue of the Cities in Silvis. Order online at godfathers.com and reunite with that same delicious pizza you grew up with. Welcome back to Off the 8 with Matt Randazzo here on a Wednesday in the Quad Cities. Thank you guys so much for watching, whether you're watching on YouTube, X, however you're taking part of the show. We do appreciate it. Nick Baumgardner, just on the show, talking a lot of NFL draft. Iowa could have the most draftees, I think that's the way to say it, ever at that school. Maybe not a first rounder, probably not a first rounder, but a lot of players heading to the NFL draft. And also, how about that to say, and it wasn't a clear cut thing, but he would probably think that Mark Gronowski gets drafted ahead of Luke Altmyer right now. Really close. Very similar guys, but really close. So if you missed Nick, go back and check him out. A thank you to Scott Docterman for helping me set up that connection with Nick Baumgardner. I've listened to a lot of his content all over the place. One of the best in the business. So thank you to him for joining us here on Off the Air. It's Wednesday, which means... And I know people like I've already had people complaining. They're reaching out. Where is that handsome Jake Brend? Why are we waiting till second for Jake Brend? That's what they're saying.
Well, I'm flattered. I thought you were going to say, why are they bringing this guy on again? And I was trying to think back while you were saying that. I'm like, what did I tweet this last week that would piss somebody off?
Well, it's funny because I did say at the start to show, I'm like, and I have Cyclone fans that say to me all the time, and I really do, that like, hey, thanks for having Jake on the show. You talk a lot of Hawkeyes. It's great to get the Cyclone perspective. Absolutely. And I do have a lot of Hawkeye fans that are like, what the hell is Jake Brend doing on the show again? Like, he's just making me mad. So but hey, they listen. And that's all that matters, my friend, is that they listen, right?
Hate me or love me, you watched. That's as the old saying goes.
Is it an easier week for you without a men's basketball game till Saturday?
Dude, it's weird. I watched all of season 1 of Landman yesterday.
Wow.
I haven't sat down and done nothing, and I feel like, months. Probably since right before Matt Campbell left. I remember I opened my mouth. I'm like, this is weird. I have a Thursday to do nothing, and then Matt Campbell is. Or there's a private jet from State College heading to Ames, Iowa. And
so you
feels like it's been nonstop since then. Yeah, it is my fault. But yeah, we'll talk to the team tomorrow morning. But other than that, I'm just thinking like, what can I do? And the great boss Chris Williams, like we got a long 6 weeks ahead. So don't just do nothing. We'll recover, we'll rest, and we'll get ready for this massive stretch of college basketball coming up.
No, I love it. Jake Brend from the CycloneFanatic joining me right now and Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. Before we talk basketball, real quick, because I talked to Nick Baumgardner off the air. I should have done it on off the air, if that makes any sense. But I mentioned Iowa State, and he's like, Big Citrus. I love him. I think he had a early day two grade on him. That when you start thinking Cyclones in the NFL draft, it starts with that big guy in the middle, doesn't it?
Yeah, and he feels like a guy. I'm not going to pretend like a great NFL draft expert. I try to follow it. I don't do a great job, but he feels to me like a guy that will be a combine darling. Just when you factor in his size and the skill set that he has and how he can move for someone his size, it seems to me like a guy a team will fall in love with, similar to Will McDonald, where I think we all thought that McDonald had a really good chance to be that guy to break that 50-year first-round pick drought. I don't think anyone thought he'd go 15. So he was also a freak athletically and was able to obviously impress the Jets, and that's paid off for him. So it wouldn't shock me at all if Dom Orange keeps getting some momentum around him.
And that's the thing, is you have to almost time it correctly, if that makes sense. And Nick even mentioned like he thinks Gronowski will probably get an invite to the combine because of the way he played, and you just mentioned you don't know who's gonna impress at pro days and all those kind of things as well. You can see he really likes them, and he's harder talking day 2. I mean, you can see him maybe sneak into the back half of the first round, possibly. One thing you are an expert about is college basketball. I say that, I think so.
You said it with the proper hesitation.
We talked about the schedule and the stretch that the Iowa State men are in, and that they should take care of business before it gets really interesting on Valentine's Day and then moving forward. They've done that. Did you expect them to do it to the domination that they've been doing it at the last couple games?
I expected it against Colorado because it's at Hilton, because I just think Iowa State is superiorly talented compared to Colorado. I thought they'd beat K-State. I thought there was a chance they'd do it handily. I didn't think they'd be up 40 in the second half, but that says to me an equal amount between the two programs, both how highly I think of Iowa State and how, I guess, low I think of Kansas State. So I didn't expect that margin of victory, but man, the more I talk to people in Manhattan, the more that I hear out of Manhattan, I guess I should be surprised that it maybe wasn't a little bit more.
I thought the uniforms were hideous, and I got people like some people saying like, hey, it's what they used to wear. I don't care what they used to wear. I thought they were awful.
We used to travel by horse and buggy, and we don't do that anymore.
I know. I couldn't figure it out. I will say this.
I couldn't believe it.
Go ahead.
So the lavender tops, like K-State's lavender jerseys are some of my favorite in sports. And I don't like K-State. Like there's a lot of history, and there's a lot of rivalries that I've picked with some fans online. But I have to admit that the lavender tops are gorgeous. So when I saw them warming up in the lavender tops, I'm like, oh, that's another good jersey matchup. But they all had their sweatpants on. And when I was sitting next to the K-State bench in the first half, and after the warm-ups, when one guy took his sweatpants off to walk out to half court, I'm like, oh my gosh, how embarrassing. This guy wore the wrong shorts today. And then I see all of them have the wrong colored shorts on. They were hideous. I could not, that definitely widened the margin of victory at least 10 points.
Yeah.
Just based off of the uniforms.
It was bad. The game was, I wouldn't say bad because the game was good if you're an Iowa State fan, but it was done early and impressive. I will say this. So Iowa State, and we'll talk about Baylor in a second, but they go to TCU next Tuesday, I think.
Yeah.
And me being a Brock Harding fan and love that kid, and I've watched them play a lot, and I'm like, that's a sneaky tough game down there. They've given a lot of teams. I mean, they beat Florida. They should have beaten Kansas. Like, that's a sneaky tough game on the road. And then they go to Colorado and just get slapped by the Buffaloes. I didn't understand that game on Sunday, I think. You're a college basketball guy. You're a Big 12 guy. I guess Iowa State should beat Texas or TCU by 60 coming up on Tuesday. That was weird to me.
If transitive property is a real thing in sports, then yes, but it's not. And I said, I want to say on your show last week, before this 4-game stretch, that at TCU was easily the toughest game of that stretch, because I do think TCU's good even if they're weird. Like no one has a weirder resume in college basketball than they do, because they were the only team to play Michigan close the first 2.5 months of the season, but they lost to New Orleans to start the year. They beat Florida. They blew out Wisconsin. And I kind of thought that they were the middle class of the Big 12. And I see they're only 1-point favorites at Colorado on Sunday. And I text someone, what's the deal with this? Someone said it smells fishy, so I didn't touch it. And I'm glad I didn't touch it because Colorado just blasted them. And I guess I should have seen it from a mile away. Colorado's they're an okay team. Like they're not as bad as they were last year. They're not a good team by any means, and they've got pride. They just got embarrassed by 30 points, so it makes sense that they came out of the fire, but I can't quite get my pulse on TCU.
Iowa State and Baylor this weekend hitting Hilton Coliseum. What I was talking about with Jake earlier was basically he didn't have a midweek game, so he had a little time to breathe a little bit before 6 days, I think, between Sunday and then the game on Saturday. I believe it's Saturday. Saturday, right?
Yep, Saturday at 1.
Baylor's not Baylor. Baylor's not
like
there's a few years ago you're like, oh wow, Baylor and Iowa State. They're not Baylor. They're not very good. It's a very winnable game for Iowa State. Tell us about Baylor. What does Iowa State have to do to make sure they don't stub their toe? I think they're just such a better team talent-wise that I don't think there's even a chance of that happening. But preview Saturday's game for me, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, Iowa State's been favored inside this building by 15 plus several times this year. And that's been against Oklahoma State, West Virginia, Central Florida, Colorado. I still think you can make the argument that Baylor's the most talented of those teams to walk in that building, as 15 to 18 point dogs. But you're right, they're not very good. They're not up to Baylor standards at all. They haven't really been up to their standard the past couple of years. And they've got talent, they can fill it up. They just don't get stops. And this is since TJ Otzelberger started, Baylor has been a great matchup for TJ Otzelberger and Iowa State. They often kill them when they come into Hilton. They've beat him down in Waco. They've beat him in Kansas City a couple times. So this has always been a good stylistic matchup. And as long as Iowa State shows up and plays relatively well, they should win this one with ease.
Baylor, TCU, and then it starts, right? Then it gets rolling on Valentine's Day. Going into the home stretch, let's just say Iowa State takes care of business, if that makes sense, the rest of this week and into next week. Where do you have what's your realistic expectation on where Iowa State can finish in this Big 12 conference?
Whew. I mean, the way they're playing right now, I still think the sky's the limit. I don't think they're going to win out, but it's a possibility. Like you look at the schedule right now, you're going to be favored in every game but Arizona and maybe BYU. That's right now, that would probably be right around a pick 'em. So I would put my realistic expectations with 9 games to go at probably 7-2, somewhere in that range. But an 8-1 wouldn't be the most shocking thing in the world, and 6-3 wouldn't stun me either. Getting Kansas, Houston, Texas Tech at Hilton Coliseum 3 games in a row, I like their odds of being in that building. But you all saw Darren Peterson Big Monday. Sometimes the best player in college basketball can turn into the best player in college basketball, and it doesn't matter what you do. So I think anywhere in that 6-3 to 8-1 range is realistic.
One more for men's basketball, because we got Illinois fans, and rightfully so, 2 seeds, possibly a 1 seed. Are they the best team in the Big Ten? And it's hard to argue after 11 straight victories and going on the road like they have. Seeding wise for Iowa State, it's just hard to even start talking about it, really, because of the matchups they have coming up against other teams that want to be 1 seeds and 2 seeds and 3 seeds, correct?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many teams, and I did the math last week of how pretty much the top 12 teams in college basketball right now would all be 1 seeds in almost any other year of the sport.
Yeah.
So again, that's all data now compared to data at the end of the season. So it's not a perfect comparison, and things will sort themselves out. I think you've seen things get sorted out a little bit with Nebraska, where it's starting to look like, oh, are they going to be a 1 seed? They look like they're absolutely going to be a 2 seed. They lose a couple games. And to me, they seem more like a 3 seed. And that seems right, but they can always play themselves back up to that 2 line. For Iowa State, I'd say 2 should be the goal. 2 should be the expectation. It'd take a lot to get to that 1 seed. You'd need some help. But I think as long as you're one of those top 8 seeds, I think the path is still going to be there for you to make a run and make a Final Four.
Jake Brend joining us right now on Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. Jake, you look at the Iowa State women, you're right a lot. I'm not calling you out on this or anything, but last Wednesday we talked about Iowa State having to go to Texas Tech.
I was wrong.
And that's a beautiful thing. It's okay to be wrong sometimes. And the amount of things that happened in that game was crazy. Like, I'm getting onto social media and it's like 2,000 points for Audie Crooks, winningest coach in Big 12 history for Bill Fenley. Really cool night for Iowa State. And it almost, all the milestones almost overshadow the fact that that's a huge victory for the here and now, if that makes any sense, because the milestones are great, but they needed a victory like that, and they're starting to play a lot better basketball. Last Wednesday was pretty fun, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't expect it. It was an incredible win, and if anything, it showed the progress this team has made since that losing streak, because they came back to Hilton Coliseum, took care of Cincy, took care of Arizona, did what they needed to do. And while it was good to see them smile, play good, have momentum, they still needed to prove it against a good team. And they proved it against a really good team on the road and beat the crap out of them. So I don't know how you could be any more encouraged. A bit of a sleepy spot coming back with Central Florida on Saturday. Didn't play great, but still beat them by double digits, and now won 4 in a row, and there's going to be some more chances to go win a few more in a row and continue to secure their berth in the NCAA tournament.
I know we continue to talk about Addie Brown. Do they have the mindset that this is Iowa State basketball, this is Iowa State women's basketball, and then any contributions you get from her is a cherry on top or extra? Have they taken that approach yet, or do they still have that hope that maybe come Big 12 tournament time they get one of the best players in the Big 12 back?
Yeah, I would guess that they're probably at this point just anticipating Big 12 tournament's best case scenario. I don't know that for sure. I don't want to have this clipped if she comes back in 2 or 3 weeks.
Too late.
And I'm
I already
wrong,
did. Nope.
But the feeling I get is that they're not expecting her back for the Big 12 tournament. They're not expecting her back at any point this year, but they're obviously hoping she can come back because she is one of the best players in college basketball. She is one of the best players in the Big 12. But if they're setting any sort of hope or realistic expectations, I wouldn't expect it until the postseason.
Jake Brend from the CycloneFanatic joining us right now and off the air. Before I let you go, the Super Bowl is this weekend.
Ooh.
I know when it came out, you were like, hey, I'm excited about the Super Bowl. I love the game, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. So do I. I'm going to eat too much all day on Sunday. I'm already starting to not eat early this week so I can eat on the weekend. I like to gamble. You like to gamble. Do you have any best bet? Have you done anything yet? Can you give our viewers a Jake Brend special? How do you go about doing this? Well, you gotta wait to see. My wife just left this morning out of town, and I'm like, she gets back Saturday night late. I go, you need to spend your flight focusing on picking the wrong side of the coin so I can tell everybody to fade you. But your thoughts on anything Super Bowl wise yet?
I'm not a prop guy. I typically just touch spreads, and I think I would go with New England just out of the sheer principle of I don't think I've heard anyone go with New England at this point. So I think I'd swallow the points and not feel great about it, and more so probably emotionally hope that it's a close game. But again, I do think New England's better than people are giving them credit for, and they've got the better quarterback in the matchup. That has to mean something in this game, but I do think Seattle's a more complete team, top to bottom. They've beat better teams. They've got a better defense, but I don't hate New England's chances maybe as much as a lot of people do.
Yeah, that line's flirted from like 3.5 to like 4.5 to 5. I think it's at 4.5 right now. I enjoy the prop bets sometimes in these kind of games just because they're fun. You can't. It's gambling at that point. I like to strategically invest on sporting events, if that makes it sound any better. I don't like to just gamble, but I do on a Sunday, Super Bowl wise. I let my kids do like some goofy ones. That's an awful thing to say. They don't actually gamble. They tell me, and then I put it in. But I'm gonna probably get arrested now. That was dumb. I'm just kidding. So
we're live on air.
Yeah, it should be fun. No, it should be fun to favorite thing to eat during the Super Bowl. Then I'll let you go.
Oh, you can never beat some wings.
Yes, that's a great call.
Any kind.
Are you a spicy
boneless
guy?
I wouldn't say spicy wings are my favorite, but I enjoy spicy wings.
You've been described as a lot. I don't know if spicy has been anything that I've heard you described by.
Yeah, I don't think so either. But yeah, I can get down to some buffalo wings.
That's about it.
I just love wings.
Yeah,
but I'll eat anything. Just throw a spread of whatever on Super Bowl Sunday, and I'm sure it'll get touched.
Well, I'm going to get done with this show and go to the gym because of just thinking ahead to Sunday. Appreciate you. Enjoy your Super Bowl Sunday. Enjoy the weekend. Iowa State men at home against Baylor. Women on the road on Saturday, correct? Utah?
Yes.
Okay. So, and then
I believe that's a late game. Let me double check.
And what we'll do too is, so next Wednesday, you're not going to TCU, are you?
No, I'm not.
You know what? I'll tell you this, just because of the Hardings. It's a really easy trip from the Quad Cities. It's a direct flight from the Quad Cities. The flight takes about an hour and hour and 20 minutes, and then it's a 15-minute drive from the airport, and you're at TCU. It's crazy. It's like easier than going to Chicago.
I was going to go, but the direct flights, for whatever reason, are way more expensive for this trip than normal. So I'm going to, other than the TCU game, I'll be at every Iowa State game, home or away, the rest of the way. So we'll sit at home and watch that one.
The good news is he'll be available next Wednesday to talk about that game and a lot more. Jake, enjoy the Super Bowl. Make sure you check out all Jake's content and everything. He's on X. He makes people happy. He makes people sad. He makes people mad. He's Jake Brend. I appreciate you, my friend. Take care.
Thanks, Dasso.
All right. That is Jake Brend. Again, CycloneFanatic is where you can get his content. Go to the YouTube page if you're watching this on YouTube. Don't leave yet. But if you're a Cyclone fan, go check out the CycloneFanatic and all his stuff later on in the day, this week, and all that kind of stuff as well. We got a break to get to. Coming up after the break, when you're in the media, you get a lot of respect for other people in the media. One thing I've done when I started this show was I tried to get as many people on, whether it's guys that were opponents or, like J. Kidwells and those kind of people. You get to know and respect a lot of people in this business, and then I may be on your side or at your station or whatever. One group I've always had a ton of respect for, and it's not TV, although it is, but it's not TV news, if that makes any sense. Up in Sterling, they do a fantastic job broadcasting the games in Sterling. The quality is fantastic. They've been doing that for a long time, and then, of course, they've been doing the radio side of it. No radio right now, but they all started on the radio side of things. Jim Spencer and Matt Gingrich called their 1,000th game of Sterling athletics on Friday. What an awesome number, 1,000 times. And they're going to join us after the break to talk about that, the milestone, what it means, Sterling athletics, and a whole bunch more. Really excited about this. We'll be joined by those two fine gentlemen and much more right after this. You're watching OTA. It's Wednesday right here in the Quad Cities. We'll be right back.
Hello, Dan Pearson here of FCA. Our team is thrilled to support Off the Air with our good friend Matt Randazzo. We share the view of the power of sport when it comes to relationships, including the influence of the coach. FCA believes the coach is the most influential person in America. Matt celebrates local coaches and athletes. His content is informational, insightful, and inspirational. Our Fellowship of Christian Athlete team loves partnering with Off the Air with Matt Randazzo while we engage, equip, and empower coaches and athletes in our 23 counties. FCA, the heart and soul in sports.
View from the West, the podcast covering Illinois high school football.
It's going to be a hard-hitting game. It's going to be great football.
Weekly analysis and reaction from around the western side of the state of Illinois.
This is the game we had circled when the year started.
Follow along on YouTube and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.
It's big-time football out there tonight, and I know we can play big-time football.
View from the West. We got you covered.
Are you looking for the Quad City's best chips and salsa? There's only one dude to turn to.
Right on.
Snoop. Hand-cut chips, fried fresh with that crunch you've come to love. And the most addicting salsa with delicious fresh ingredients each and every time. Pick up your chips and salsa, queso, enchiladas, and much more at the Stern Center in Rock Island. To place your order, simply call the man himself. It's Snoop at 309-314-8197 and find out for yourself what the rest of the Quad Cities already loves. Welcome back to Off the Air with Matt Randazzo here on a Wednesday in the Quad Cities. When you get into the media business, I know this is probably going to be breaking news for a lot of people. You don't do it for the money or the glamour. You do it because you love sports and you love what you get to do. So when I see a milestone like I got to see over the weekend and was notified over the weekend of, I had to talk to these two gentlemen. 1,000 games called by this familiar duo out in Sterling, Jim Spencer and Matt Gingrich, joins me right now and Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. 1,000 games, fellas. First and foremost, thank you for doing this. I appreciate you guys taking the time.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Absolutely. Glad to do it.
1,000 games. Who's keeping track, I guess, is my first question. When did you kind of Matt, when did you kind of know? And what does it mean? I mean, that's amazing.
Well, it means that we're old and we've been doing this a long time, and that in spite of us doing 1,000 games, our wives haven't left us. As far as we know, as soon as I left the house, my wife was there. So
far, yeah.
But yeah, so a few years ago, I started keeping track, thinking back of all the different games that we had done, and just started keeping a running count. And I think I told Spence earlier, maybe this fall, that we were approaching 1,000, and it probably happened during basketball season sometime January or February. And, the schedule's kind of laid out as the start of the school year comes around. And so it ended up being right around the time we thought it would be. And it just so happened to be last Friday night at home.
Jim, what did it mean? I mean, 1,000's an amazing number. When he told you, hey, it's getting close to that number, did you do a double take? Did you it's only been 1,000? It seems like it's been way more with you. What was your thought process when you heard about it?
A little bit of both of that. First of all, I thought, okay, 1,000. First, I thought that was a little bit light. And then I started to do the math, and I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. That considering the number of games per year and all that sort of stuff. But I got to be honest, it sounds like a lot. It doesn't feel like a lot, because it just doesn't feel like I've been doing it long enough to do 1,000 games with just this guy. So,
Right.
That's. And granted, even the ones the games that I did that don't include Matt, there are not that many over the course of my career that would add any significant amount to that 1,000 number. So.
Well, and Matt was tracking the numbers for me because wasn't gonna go count. But basketball 720-ish, football 210,
Yep.
softball, baseball around 70 gets you to that fun number. I got to work a lot of years with my doppelganger Corey Kuffler. I think we did 15 at WQAD, and I always joke that we never argued, and I always said the reason we never argued was because he was way mature and I was immature. But it was 99% him that we didn't. And then maybe 1% me. You have to like and get along with the person that you do that with for so long. I guess I'll start with you, Matt. How important is it that you can stomach the guy sitting next to you and vice versa?
It's been really easy. First of all, Jim and I went to high school together here at Sterling, so we've known each other, and junior high as far as that goes. So we've known each other for a long time. But I think we have a lot of very similar philosophies when it comes to athletics and high school athletics, and in particular Sterling High School. So I don't think we agree 100% on everything, but the disagreements that we have are few and far between, and they're nothing that's ever personal. So we get along just fine.
Yeah,
Matt, Jim, go ahead.
Yeah, liking the other person certainly does make it easy. And there's no way you could do what we do for as long as we've done it if we can't tolerate each other at least a little bit. The thing that makes it fun, or especially for the road games, is what you talk about in the car on the way to and from, because that goes way beyond what's going to happen on the floor, on the court, or on the field that particular night. There's a lot more good conversation that happens in the car to and from those road games than ever gets on the air.
I love the fact you guys
probably shouldn't. Some of it probably shouldn't get on the air.
I bet a lot of it probably shouldn't get on the air. When you look at it, and you mentioned since high school, junior high, whatever, I can only envision little Jimmy and little Matt sitting in the cafeteria with their pretend combs or phones or whatever. Not phones, obviously, back then, but talk. When did you guys, if you were to go back and tell 10-year-old Jim and Matt that you guys did this, was it something you talked about back then? When did you realize this is a common thing that you liked? It had to be after high school, right? Or were you thinking about this long time ago?
Well, Jim's the professional. He's the trained, went to school to go into, communications and broadcasting. I'm just the guy that he knew and he called one day and I showed up. So he's better to answer that question than I am.
Back then, I mean, I could have seen myself doing what I'm doing when I was that young. I was that nerd who pretended to do play-by-play to the TV, when I was that young. But doing it with him, we wouldn't have had an inkling that this was something that would have happened in high school.
You guys mentioned the car drives and the road trips, all those kind of things. I think that's what we always look back at QAD about. Like, it was the afterwards. It was the, deep compressing and talking about the nights and all of those kind of things. Talk about that, because we listen, we hear, we see, but we don't see the beginning stuff and the end stuff and afterwards. Is that some of the most enjoyable times of, how did that happen, and the kind of the car rides and the after hours kind of stuff?
Yeah, there's. I think that the unwinding of the game is always exciting. There's more varied conversation on the way to the game, and it's more kind of game specific on the way home. There's obviously a lot of celebrating after a big win, and a lot of blanket and moaning after a game that might not have gone our way.
Even some games where we refused to talk about the game on the way home just because of how it transpired. So.
We've had games where we say, no, we're not talking about that.
Yeah.
No, anything but that. We can talk about that.
You guys have Sterling obviously behind you. That's the school. That's where it all starts. The community up there, I think, and I say this about a lot of schools, but I believe it with Sterling. It's special. It's a great community. The coaches, you get to know those guys and all those kind of stuff. What is it about that community? Because if you guys were just calling random basketball games around the area, it'd be one thing. I think it's the fact that you're covering the community that you grew up in and love that makes it probably even more special. What is it about that community, Jim? I'll start with you. That makes it a little extra special.
I think that it's the fact that we're from here, and we kind of bled it. He played basketball here. I've been a fan of the Golden Warriors, since I was, probably 8 or 9 years old, listening to games on the radio. And the fact that we grew up in it and we get the past and we understand, what it means to talk about, the 1977 state champion girls basketball team, and building on that and being able to connect from generation to generation and bring it all kind of back together to the here and now. Yeah. That is what I think is kind of our secret sauce, because we've lived it and we love it. And I think that kind of just percolates through what we do and how we do it. And I think people appreciate that.
No,
and I think I think the young people of today appreciate being connected to the greatness that we've had of the past. And I think that that's one of the things that makes me the most proud, is that we can share with the kids that we have now how they connect to the Golden Warriors of the past. And I think that our current athletes kind of dig that, that they realize they're part of a larger community, and they enjoy that.
And we're blessed to be in a community that really values high school athletics and that supports whatever endeavors, whatever sport it is. I mean, we get great support from the community, from parents. We've got just a fabulous administration and coaching staff and people that we've become friends with. In our time, we've seen coaches come and go, in the time that we've been doing this, but I think it's fair to say that we've become good friends with all the coaches that we cover. And, combine that with the way the community feels about athletics at Sterling High School, it can't help but, support what we do. And in turn, we promote what the school's doing, and it's a win-win for everybody.
No, absolutely. It's great coaches up there, despite John Schlemmer. I mean, maybe except him, all great human beings and all the kind of things as well. When you look at it, 1997 is when it started, Jim, and I know technology, and I say that as if I know technology. I don't know technology. I'm horrible at it. Here's what I know is it constantly changes. You guys start 97 radio, then it's streaming radio, then it's to what you guys do now. And I'm not kidding. What you guys do now and the quality of the presentation that you guys have on Friday nights is second to none. Kind of talk about that side of things, and how you've watched it evolve over the last years. I won't do the math. I'll just go when it gets to that.
Yeah, it's I think that's one of those things. If you could have told us in 1997 that in nearly 30 years later, first of all, you'd still be doing it together, that would be kind of unbelievable, But the fact that we're not doing radio anymore. I mean, we are not on the radio at all. We're exclusively on Golden Warrior TV, and we're doing that live with people watching the broadcast in their living room on their big screen TVs. I never would have believed that. I mean, we were big into the internet when the internet first became a thing. It was, I've always kind of, I think Matt is the same way, kind of thought of myself as kind of a tech geek and really wanted to stay up on things. There's no way. I'm blown away by what we're able to do now, because I never would have dreamt anything like this possible. We can take one camera and a computer and an audio mixer, and then all of a sudden we're broadcasting live around the world. That to me is mind blowing.
Yeah, it's to a point where any idiot can put a little thing up in their loft and talk on TV for 2 hours a day. That's how scary it is, and myself included. You look at those kind of things and you're able to do that. And I don't think it's in a bad way that I say this. That's part of why, everything evolves, but people don't want to wait. I don't want to say don't want to wait because it makes me sound like I'm being like the 45 seconds or 60 seconds of highlights that you get on a high school show isn't enough anymore, because you can get to a point. It's not just yourselves. You can get to football postseason time, and you can sit there and go from one to another on YouTube and watch the games. How is that? And that's something where people almost expect what they get from you guys every Friday night, isn't it?
You want me to
Go ahead.
tackle this one?
Yep.
I think, I mean this in a good way, okay? The people that watch on Golden Wire TV, I really think they're spoiled in a good way. Because, and this is not to demean other schools and what they do with their online product. We just put more resources into it.
It's amazing.
Every school can do what we do. It's not that hard. But it takes a consistent effort, and it takes consistent leadership. And we're fortunate to be able to recruit good team members. Kyle Morgan, who's kind of our tech guy behind the scenes, who kind of organizes all the equipment and works on recruiting student staff members that help us do that. He's been huge. He's also a Sterling grad. A little younger than we are, by 20 years or so.
But who isn't? Anymore.
This is very true. But I mean, with all that we do, our people do expect it to be really good, and
sometimes we hear about it when it's
right,
not,
exactly.
It's below the standard that they expect.
Exactly. It's like, well, why did you only have 4 cameras last night? Like, 4, that's all, But what that does, it motivates you to try to be just a little bit better, to offer just a little bit more each and every year, to try to make it just a little bit better for the people that watch, and also for our sponsors that are part of it. I think part of the reason that we're able to attract the number of sponsors that we do, and for them to be able to invest in us the way that they do, is because they feel it's a professional product, and we try to make sure that we maintain that professional level.
Absolutely. Well said. Jim Spencer and Matt Gingrich are joining me right now and off the air with Matt Randazzo. Matt, I guess I'll start with you with this impossible question of is there a game that stands out among the 1,000? It's like asking your favorite kid, which mine is Chase. I hope he's not watching, or my other 3 aren't watching. Right. But just today, it changes every day. Is it possible to say this is my favorite game or these are my favorite games?
I don't think I can pick just one, but there are a handful that stand out over the years. And I guess going back to when we first started. So when we first started broadcasting together, Jim was the director at the local radio station, the sports director at the local radio station. So we were covering not just Sterling games. We were doing Newman games, even some Sauk Valley Community College games, and Rock Falls. And at the time, Rock Falls under Coach Tom Sigel had a really strong team. The first year that we covered their games, they went all the way to the super sectional and lost to Farmington in '98. And then the next year we did all of their games on their way to the Class A state championship game. And that whole run is very memorable just for everything that it involved. And not only, being involved with historic significance in terms of the state championship, but just the way that the games played out. And it wasn't like Rock Falls was a dominant team and was going to run their way through state. There were some close calls there, and it was just really exciting and fun to be a part of that. But then getting back to when we started doing just Sterling games, probably, 2004 or 5, something like that. There were some football games very memorable when Coach King had taken over the program and Sterling beat both Metamora and Geneseo on the road in 2005.
Yeah, 2005.
Right?
Yeah.
Both teams were ranked number 1 at the time. Those are regular season games, but those had some significance, especially Geneseo because they had beaten us 9 years in a row. And to get that one when they were number 1 at their place was significant. There was the girls team that went to state in 2007. From a personal standpoint, my son played basketball for Coach V at Sterling, and there was a triple overtime sectional semifinal game in which we won over Peoria Manual back in 2018. That was exciting, memorable, everything wrapped up in one. Last year, the girls basketball team going to the super sectionals, that was thrilling as well. So there are a bunch, and we remember those good ones, and we remember bad ones too, and we talk about those sometimes as well. But those are just a few of the ones that stand out to me.
Jim, I'll give you the other impossible question. Favorite players, favorite athletes. Gosh, you kind of people. When I got done at WQAD,
I don't want to miss anybody, obviously, but we've been blessed with if we just limited to Sterling, because, well, before I do that, just that Rock Falls team that we covered all the way to the state championship, Tom Sigel, Tom, just an amazing individual. And the dudes in that team were something else. Jed Johnson, Brian Vance, Brian Bourgeon, George Acosta, those guys. There was Herb Martin. Yeah, absolutely. There was a game a couple of years after that. I remember this game. It would have been George and Brian Bourgeon were sophomores on the state championship team. 2 years later, Ging and I are doing a game at Alleman during the regular season. And you remember Tyler Ryan?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Rock Falls and Alleman, they were throwing haymakers at each other throughout the game. Goes to overtime. They're in overtime. Rock Falls is down. Acosta drives the lane, throws up a shot. It goes in with like 2 seconds left. And the ball gets inbounded. Tyler Ryan takes 2 steps up the sideline, and from 3/4 court, he throws one in to win.
I think I remember that game. I know I remember that game.
And that was a situation where you had 3 dudes on both teams. Brian Bourgeon, George Acosta for Rock Falls, just killing it. And then Tyler Ryan was great the entire game, and he throws that one in and does that. That's just one that is kind of off the beaten path a little bit. But then so you got Tyler Ryan, George Acosta, Brian Bourgeon in that regard. And then you start talking about things for Sterling. Graham Hall, just an unbelievable football player, did some great things. We got to watch Joseph Bertrand for 4 years before he went off to Illinois, and the state champion dunker, and just there were times where Joseph literally took your breath away with what he was able to do on the basketball floor. Devin Carbaugh was a great member of that '07 girls basketball team that made it to the Elite Eight. Won a couple of games in overtime on their way to making it to state. Devin was amazing. And I'm going to start to miss people here, but then we've been, and just from a basketball standpoint, all-state football players like Alejandro Rivera, and great quarterbacks like Trey Morse, Sterling Thornton. Sterling Thornton, just an amazing two-sport athlete with what he was able. He scored over 1,000 points in basketball, rushed for over 2,000 yards in football. Just an amazing talent. And then Nyrell Sullivan, our all-time record holder in football. Those two teams. From Sterling football that advanced to the semifinals in back-to-back years, just unbelievably talented. But between defensive players, defensive playmakers, size up front, playmakers in the backfield, playmakers on defense, great coaching. It was so much fun to watch those guys just, for the most part, dominate everybody. Just a lot of fun. And then, from a basketball standpoint, starting with Joseph Bertrand in '09, I think Sterling has had like 10 players that have scored 1,000 or more points. Ging and I think have watched 7 of those guys play.
Yeah, and 5 of them in the last 5 years.
Yeah.
So, Andre Claver, Lucas Austin, JP Schilling, that run that a couple years ago, Caden Phillips.
Yep.
So we've experienced a lot of highs and lows with basketball, but of late, not this year so much in boys basketball, but a lot of really good individual players from that standpoint. I think we would be remiss if we didn't mention the Borum sisters, and Lexi Rodriguez. Now, I don't cover volleyball because it's just not in my wheelhouse. But Spence has seen that, and to see what what those girls have done. Grace Egan, another great volleyball player. We've had a lot of really good ones come through of late. But yeah, they've left their mark here at Sterling High.
Yeah, for our little old town here, we've been really blessed with some great teams and some great individuals, and that helps make what we do even that much more fun, because we'd like to think that we've helped etch some memories, not just for us, but for the community as well.
No doubt in my mind that there are young people that are not young people anymore that go back and listen to calls and watch games and all those kind of things as well. You guys will be part of their memories for a long, long time in Sterling. Last question for you. 2,000, 3,000, 4,000? When does this thing stop? Like, what's the, you can tell you guys still love it. How long do you want to keep doing this? You guys are young.
I told Spence the other day on the air that I'll keep showing up until someone tells me I can't. So, awesome. It's going to be whenever. I mean, at one point we talked about when there's a lot of current staff members that have younger kids in grade school, and that maybe when those kids have gone through and graduated high school, so 12 years or so, then maybe that would be it. But I don't know that we're going to hold each other to that.
Jim?
We're getting close there because we're already like second generation now.
We are definitely into second generation players. No third generation yet. But plenty of second generation players we're seeing now.
It sneaks up on you.
Ging, it certainly does. I'm with Ging, and as long as they let me to continue to do it, I'll do it.
They'll continue to let you guys do it for as long as you guys want to do it. I've enjoyed listening to it. You guys have helped us out a ton at WQAD and then this as well. So keep doing great stuff. Keep enjoying it. That's the beauty part of it, is the passion. You guys can hear it, and that's the beauty part. It's Sterling Warrior Athletics, Golden Warrior Athletics. So thank you guys for doing this, taking some time to be part of my humble little show. Keep doing it. We'll talk to you again at 1,500, maybe 2,000, sometime like that. How's that sound?
You got it. Yeah,
All right,
got
guys.
it, Matt. Thank you.
Appreciate it. That is Jim Spencer and Matt Gingrich. 1,000 games calling sports out at Sterling, and obviously they've done it at a high level, and they'll continue to do that until they tell them to leave. Nobody's ever going to tell those two to leave. They can relax with that as well. We got much more to get to. You're watching OTA on a Wednesday right here in the Quad Cities. Don't go away.
Give me the keys. Learning to drive can be stressful for both the student and, yes, the parent as well. Relax. There's an easy way to avoid the stress. Skiles Driving School in East Moline has been helping new drivers hit the road with confidence for over 20 years. Whether you're a teen earning your first license or an adult looking for behind-the-wheel training, we've got you covered. Their certified instructors are patient, experienced, and use modern vehicles equipped for safety and comfort. From classroom instruction to real-world driving, we make learning safe, affordable, and even fun. Call 309-278-0098 or visit skylesdriving.com. Skiles Driving School. Get in, buckle up, drive your future forward.
Welcome back to Off Day with Matt Randazzo here on a Wednesday in the Quad Cities Hump Day. Officially over halfway through the work week, especially for me because, excuse me, the show is almost over. But really a fun show today. If you missed it, a great chat with Nick Baumgardner from The Athletic, kind of talking about the NFL draft coming up. And it's going to be a good one for the Iowa Hawkeyes. A lot of prospects that should get drafted sometime during the draft. I know a few years ago there were 2 first-round picks, or there's been a lot of first-round picks in certain years and all those kind of things. Probably none in the first round this year, but there's going to be a lot throughout. And one thing that really interests me, we talked about the Illini prospects as well, but I kind of threw at him, like Mark Gronowski, Luke Altmyer, who gets drafted first. Very close in his eyes, but he kind of went towards Gronowski. We'll see what happens coming up in April. A lot can change until then. But I don't think if you would have told a lot of college football fans that halfway through this season, they would have believed you. And that might be the case come April. That we talked to him about Matt Bailey and his decision to go back to Illinois. Really good insight on that, what the Bears might do, a lot of great stuff. So roll back if you missed it, scroll back and check out his interview. Also, it's Wednesday. We talked to Jake Brend, a quieter week for Iowa State. No midweek game for the men or the women. Both get back in action this weekend, but we talked to him about Iowa State. They got a couple very winnable games coming up, and then the schedule gets very difficult from Valentine's Day on. So, but obviously Iowa State playing some really good basketball. And then we just talked with Jim Spencer and Matt Gingrich. They called their game number 1,000 for Sterling Athletics this past weekend. And just going down memory lane with them, it's crazy. They mentioned 1997 they started. I graduated in 97. And I'm old, so they've been doing it for a long time at a high level for a long time. That was a bunch of fun. Thank you once again to those two. If you missed that, as always, go back, check it out. Shows from this week, I definitely want you guys to check out Monday. I got my little list because I get confused sometimes very easily. Taylor Panel joined us, Rock Island standout, one of the best softball players in the entire country for probably the best team in the country with Texas Tech. They start up on Thursday. She joined us on Monday. Trent Condon joined us on Monday to talk about the Hawkeyes from Locked On Hawkeyes. Arthur Abbey from Rock Island joined us as well on Monday, and then Rob Brooks, the voice of Iowa women's basketball. So Monday was loaded. Tuesday we had Kyle Huseman talking about the Iowa women from the Hawkeye Report. We had Jim Matson talking Illinois athletics from women's basketball to men's basketball to a defensive coordinator opening and all of that. So he was great. And then an Illini signee for the football team, Byron standout, Caden Considine. Go check that interview out. Outstanding young man that's going to do great things down in Champaign as well. Son of former Hawkeye standout and NFL player Sean Considine. So check out those interviews. We mentioned today's show coming up tomorrow. The Iowa Hawkeyes start at 10 o'clock at night. My wife just left town. I got 4 boys to take care of, and they gave me a 10 o'clock game. But that's probably better because I can get through chauffeuring them all around to where they need to go and get dinner done and everything else, homework, bed, all that kind of stuff. And then I can sit down and watch Illinois at 8 o'clock. 10 o'clock is Iowa. The Bear Cage, Nicholas Bear, I believe, and Tom Kakert joining us tomorrow on Off the Air to talk about Iowa's game with Washington and a whole bunch more. So that's coming up tomorrow. Also coming up tomorrow, Moline coach Kevin Gorgel. Been doing it for 30 years at Moline and has experienced a lot of great success. He's retiring and done coaching. So we're going to chat with him tomorrow about his memories at Moline High School and what he's meant to that football program. That and a bunch more. We got to get to John Mark sometime this week. It's been one of those busy weeks. We haven't chatted with Johnny yet. We'll get ready for the Super Bowl as well. And then be on the lookout tomorrow. Might be during our show, might be after our show, but the Hall of Fame announcements come tomorrow. I think Roger Craig finally gets into the Hall of Fame. Kenny Anderson, former Augustana standout quarterback, might get in. So we'll keep an eye on that and talk about that throughout the rest of the week. The Super Bowl's coming up. We'll preview that. A lot to get to this week right here on Off the Air. Thank you guys so much for watching a Wednesday edition of OTA. We'll see you right back here tomorrow.